Arizona right now, activists are lining up.
We're going to take this country back right now
To confront buses of undocumented children.
They have broken the law, and the president has said the law doesn't apply for them.
In the nation's capital, a midsummer melee.
What are some options you think might be necessary?
I've got lots of them.
Would you share them with us?
No.
You don't want migrant children? You don't put up these billboards. Yeah, that's right.
Lawmakers scramble to find a compromise.
Can a Texas tandem lead Congress to a border breakthrough?
A new bipartisan bill aims to make it easier to deport them.
They've cracked the code, and they figured out this gap in this 2008 law.
Is this legislation dead on arrival?
You'll see the Congress give some money.
Not quite the amount that President Obama wants.
Meanwhile, the Pope is now weighing in.
The Pope called for urgent intervention.
This humanitarian emergency requires, as a first urgent measure, these children be welcomed and protected.
This is at first a humanitarian crisis.
Immigration activist Jose Antonio Vargas,
one of the maybe best known undocumented immigrants in the United States,
has been detained by border agents while trying to board a plane in McAllen, Texas.
He felt motivated to go down there and really lend his voice to these undocumented migrants.
He was released from border control custody late today.
Before Congress goes home, don't they have to do something?
Joining me now is immigration activist Cristina Jimenez, managing director of United We Dream, and MSNBC contributor E.J. Dionne. Cristina, Jose Antonio Vargas, some of the information around his situation isn't exactly clear. You know him. One thing I want to clarify is before he went to McAllen, Texas, did he know that there could be a problem in leaving McAllen?
He didn't know, Lawrence, and United We Dream, the organization that I work with, invited Jose Antonio to be part of the activities that we were going to have in McAllen. We joined community in McAllen and immigrant youth who wanted to shed light on the real stories of these children that are fleeing Central America, and we held the vigil to call on Congress, the President, and the American public to have a conversation about this humanitarian crisis in a way that focuses on the well-being of the children as opposed to politicizing the conversation.
But it seems that he went to the airport today with, if I'm reading the situation correctly, the deliberate intent of having this confrontation with the Border Patrol.
Well, he's not from Texas. You know, he lives in New York, and he needed to head out to Los Angeles as he's promoting his documentary, which is called Documented. And he attempted to leave McAllen through the airport, and that's when Border Patrol detained him today.
But just so I understand how things go in McAllen, would it have been easier for him to drive out of McAllen and drive the distance to the next airport that could get him out of Texas?
No, Lawrence. The area of McAllen, and this is what we're trying to now share with the viewers, is that that particular area, it's an 100-mile area that is completely militarized. There are checkpoints everywhere. There's a checkpoint at the airport. There's a checkpoint in all of the roads. So if you're in McAllen and you are undocumented, like Jose Antonio, you cannot leave. You cannot go to San Antonio or Houston or any other city because you're going to have to go through a checkpoint that it's controlled by Border Patrol. And, you know, like him, we have thousands of undocumented youth and families that have never been able to leave McAllen because of this situation. They are trapped in this area.
E.J. Dionne, I learn something new every day in this situation. I didn't know that you could, in effect, be under municipal arrest in the United States and not be able to leave a city in the United States to travel wherever else you wanted to go in the United States. If in San Diego, for example, in the California-Mexico border, you could drive out of San Diego. There's nothing that's going to prevent you from doing that on all sorts of freeways, all sorts of different routes. But this is one of those things where, as this story moves along, we continue to learn new things about just how difficult life is on that border.
Right. Well, I think that, and I didn't know this myself, so I learned it as well. And I think, you know, for people who say we're not tending the border, we're sort of letting all these people through, to find out just how much security, how militarized it is, to use my colleague's word, you know, tells us something about immigration control. But the story has also shown us something else. And I was very moved by Stephanie Gosk's piece last night on your show, and watching those children and seeing what they're going through. And I was just very happy that the Pope spoke out today, because I thought there were two things he said that were really important. He referred to it as a humanitarian emergency. We're talking about this as a political border crisis. And you look at these 6- and 9-year-old kids, and you said, what's happened to us as a compassionate country? I agree it's a complicated problem to decide what to do, but there's been some real meanness here. And that's why I was also glad the Pope specifically called out racist and xenophobic attitudes. Again, immigration's complicated. We're not going to have open borders the way we had when our ancestors came here. But God, let's have some compassion for kids who are going through so much, as Stephanie's story showed.
Yeah, EJ, that's an important part of the story. That's why I wanted to have her on last night. Is the route that these people are traveling. You know, by the time they get to us, some of the heroics that they've gone through and the determination they've shown, I think, is evidence, as it has been in previous waves of immigration, of just how determined they are to succeed once they get here.
Right, and I think, as you pointed out last night, I mean, that's true of all of our ancestors who risked so much to get here. And I don't think there's any doubt that the United States is a stronger country for being an immigrant country. And again, the bishop, as he said earlier, we're not going to have open borders anytime soon. So we are going to be turning people away. And as soon as you do that, you raise some very complicated issues. But we were really sort of patting ourselves on the back when we passed that law, the Wilberforce Act, to try to help the victims of sex trafficking. And we said this is the kind of thing that makes us a good country. And I'd really like us to show ourselves as a good country in dealing with these kids now. And I hope the attitudes change a little bit. I hope the Pope has a bit of effect on the way this story is talked about.
Christina Jimenez and EJ Dionne, thank you both very much for joining me tonight.
Good to be with you, Lawrence.